two-time world champion with McLaren, Mika Häkkinen, had some interesting predictions slash comments, shall we say, in regards to his former team, saying that McLaren could challenge Red Bull come the end of the season. Yeah, as in not had a brilliant start to the year midfield McLaren challenging ahead of literally every single team on the grid by a margin Red Bull. There is I'd say consistently 4 teams between Red Bull and McLaren in terms of performance. And my first thought when I saw this was, is Häkkinen on something, or is age starting to get to him? Not that he's overly old, he's only 54. But screw it, this is worth speaking about, so let's talk. Häkkinen had made his comments in a video with Unibet, and he'd said that he didn't think anybody would be able to catch up to Red Bull this year, though he thought the only surprise we'd see would be from McLaren's possible progression over the next few months, and he thought they would surprise us massively, and in terms of the speed of their car, they'd probably challenge Red Bull. I'm sorry, even as I say that, I'm still wondering, what is that man on? I mean, he is Finnish. Maybe it's the drink that Kimmy never got. First off, let's have a quick run through the season so far for Red Bull and mainly McLaren. Just a quick mention on Red Bull. They've dominated. They've won every single race this year. Max Verstappen winning 6 of the 8 races so far. Sergio Perez finishing first in the other 2 races, and in those races, Max Verstappen finished second. They've had pole every race except for Baku when Charles Leclerc turned up and proved how good he is around there. They've been just dominating absolutely everything. Then on the other end of the stick, we have McLaren. McLaren started off the season, well, not so well. Wasn't quite as good as Red Bull. In fact, it wasn't anywhere near as good as Red Bull. In the season over in Bahrain, they were struck with mechanical problems on both cars that ended Oscar Piastri's debut race and made Lando Norris's race basically into an extended test session. Then Saudi Arabia didn't bring much either in the race due to both cars sustaining damage on lap 1, but I will say credit where it's due to Piastri for wrestling that car into Q3. They did finally score points in Australia with P6 and P8, and through all the carnage, having one of their best races of the season so far. Then there was Baku, which that wasn't so bad either. Both cars made it into Q3 for the first time this season. And then 9th and 11th in the race, solidly fighting around the midfield lower reaches of the top 10. And that was of course the race where they brought their first upgrade package of the season. Though sadly the form didn't follow them to Miami. Frankly, Miami was an absolute disaster class for the walking outfit, and that's frankly the only way I can describe it. But Monaco was better for them thankfully, and both Norris and Piastri managed to power their way up into finishing in the points in P9 and P10 with some very nice moves. And then Barcelona and Canada were mixed bags. I will say mega effort for them in qualifying to get both cars into Q3 both weekend, and especially for Norris in Barcelona to get that P3 on the grid. But the race just didn't come together for them in Barcelona. Lap 1 damage for Norris. And then Canada was okay. Both cars did make really good overtakes during the race, but in the end there was no points again after Norris's penalty was applied and dropped them out the points. McLaren launched their MCL60 with a similar concept to Red Bull, the fastest car in the field. So far, despite having the same car concept of the quickest car, McLaren haven't been able to make it work like Red Bull have. Maybe that's just because they have Adrian Newey and McLaren don't, but I suppose that having adopted a similar concept could be where part of the thought could be coming from that McLaren could develop to be challenging Red Bull. And honestly, it's a fair thought to have. Though honestly, if you ask me, there is no why McLaren will be challenging Red Bull come the end of the year. And my thoughts on this kind of stem from what we saw from McLaren last season, because while they did improve as the season went on in 2022 from their pretty difficult start, it wasn't improvements to be a threat to the top guys. It was mere challenging to the top of the midfield improvements, if you can what I mean. And their start this year was almost identical to their start last year, and so because of that, I just don't see them challenging Red Bull this year. It would take a miracle for them to be challenging Red Bull, if you ask me. A miracle for McLaren in development, and a miracle for them also in terms of Red Bull maybe just dropping off a cliff. Or finding their way up shit creek like Ferrari did last year. Though frankly, I don't see that happening. It's a bold thought from Häkkinen, and hey, we all love a good bold prediction or bold thought. But this is one where my initial reaction still stands as what I'm thinking. what is he on? If McLaren absolutely nail every single thing on their car and in their team for next year, and I mean absolutely perfect, every single little thing, it's a very slim maybe. But frankly, I don't see that happening either. But what do you make of Mika Häkkinen's comments? Do you think McLaren can challenge Red Bull later this year? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.